Hey there, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cris Vanthul and I am a realtor here in the Tampa Bay area with Keller Williams Realty. Now I work the entire greater Tampa Bay area, which is Manatee, Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, and Pasco County, and I even venture into places like Hernando sometimes. I'm licensed to work in the entire state, but I prefer to work just kind of where I really know what's going on because makes it a lot easier and it makes it a lot better for you guys. So today I want to do a little question and answer session. I have a whole bunch of little pieces of paper folded up in there, and we're going to just reach in and pick 10 of them at random, and answer these questions. So these are questions that are frequently asked by buyers. I am totally unscripted today. I have no idea. I mean, I know what questions went in here, but there are like 50 of them. So I don't know which ones I'm going to end up with today. So it should be interesting. You ready? I'm ready. First one. I need my glasses, of course, like always. So the first question is, why is buying a house a good idea? Well, that's a heck of a good question to lead off with. So there you go. Why is buying a house a good idea? Oh, God, there's so many good reasons to buy a house. First and foremost, when you buy a house, you're building your financial wealth and you're building equity. And in this market where we're increasing in double digits year over year, it's almost like it's almost like putting money in the bank, like paying yourself and putting money in the bank. When your home value is increasing by 12, 15, 18% year over year. So you're accumulating basically free money right there. Besides building equity and building your financial wealth, now, and let's talk about this one for a minute. So when you're building your financial wealth, let's say you buy your house now and it increases in value 10% every year for the next 5 years. So it's increased, you buy it for $300,000, so the next year is worth $330,000, and then the year after that is worth $365,000 or something, and then it's worth 400. I don't do math in my head, guys, okay? And then it's worth like $450-ish, something like that. So in 5 years, you have accumulated $150,000. You bought your house for $300,000 this year. In 5 years, you have accumulated $150,000 worth of equity. So what can you do with that? This is money that you can, as you're paying your mortgage, you can sell your house, you can move up, you can sell your house, you can move down, you can cash out your equity with a HELOC and send one of your kids to college, or two of your kids to college. I don't know how much college costs, but two of your kids to college. So there's so many things that you can do. You've basically been saving $30,000 a year for 5 years. So think about that. That's a great way to build your wealth. And if you buy now as a young couple or as a young person, and you sell in 5 or 7 years and you move up, and then you do that 2 or 3 times, by the time you're in retirement age and you sell your house, just think of how much equity you've built up in your home and what you'll be able to do with that. Is that setting yourself up for a phenomenal retirement? Yeah. So that's one of the big reasons that buying a home is a good idea. The other one, and this one hits to families with kids really, but for anybody, we know that children who are living in a home that their parents own do better in school. We know that they're better adjusted children. We know that that their home life is more stable for the most part. So just think about how that plays in for your kids, to know that for their entire childhood or their entire life that they're living at home, they're going to be in the same home or maybe in the same home for 5 or 7 years and then move into a new house, but they're not jumping from one rental to another rental to another rental to another rental, uprooting themselves every single year or every 2 years when rent goes up or whatever. So it really provides a super, super staple foundation for your home life and for your family life. There are a multitude of other reasons. Those are two of the really big ones, though, that it's a great idea to buy a house. Next question is, buying a house meme. So I need to find a buying a house meme and throw it in here. So have fun laughing at this one. All right, next question. Question number 3 is a valuation used in buying a house, like a CMA. Is a valuation used in buying a house? So yes, it is. Maybe less so right now with the market the way it is. However, yes, a valuation is definitely used in buying a house. You want to know that the money that you're offering or the offer that you're making is going to be an offer that's, number one, fair, but number two, is going to be in line with what the house is really worth. Remember, no matter how much you offer for a house, and we hear stories right now of people who are offering 15, 20, 30,000, 40,000. In Canada, I'm hearing of them paying multiple hundreds of dollars above asking price. So if you're doing something like that, remember that the house still needs to appraise. An appraiser still needs to go out there and say, why, yes, sir, Mr. Bank or Mr. Buyer, the house that you're buying is indeed worth what you offered to pay for it. And to that end, a valuation or a CMA from your realtor definitely helps to make sure that you're doing that. It doesn't play as big of a part right now in this market as it does when we've got a more normal market or we're in a buyer's market at that time. Then definitely you're doing a CMA for houses and you're making sure that you're not overpaying for something. Because if the market is trending downward, you don't want to be stuck with, you don't want to be house poor. So yes, I always do evaluation for sellers and I always do evaluation for buyers as well and make sure that what they're paying is something that's fair. All right, number 4. What help is available for buying a house? When I wrote these out, I wish I had given myself a little bit more of a clue. What help is available? So let's assume that we're talking about financial assistance help. There are a whole lot of down payment assistance programs. You can check out more about that here. There are a whole lot of down payment assistance programs in the Tampa Bay area. So there are federal programs, there are state programs, there are county programs, there are city programs. And a good lender is going to be tuned into what all of those are and is going to be able to plug you in and say, the house that you're buying is in such and such an area. You can get X amount of money down. I know there are some places where you can get funds from all 4 municipalities, federal, state, county, and city, and have yourself a huge down payment. And there are some places where you can't, and there are some places where there are some programs where you can qualify even if you're not a first-time home buyer. There are some programs that you can qualify only if you're a first-time home buyer. Some programs you need to take classes. So if you talk to your lender, the sooner you talk to your lender about this, the sooner you know what it is that you need to do to qualify for the programs that you want to qualify for. Because if you're already looking at houses with your realtor and you haven't yet talked to your lender about this, you might qualify for a first-time homebuyer program, but you might need to attend a class in order to access that money. And if you haven't done that yet, then that puts you way behind the 8 ball on trying to get things done so that you can put an offer on a house and, buy one. So the sooner you get in touch with your lender, I have a few great lenders I can recommend if you guys need some. Drop me a comment or text me, email me, whatever, and I'll send those names over to you. But if you talk to your lender first, then you'll be able to, number one, get pre-approved, and number two, be able to set yourself up to gain as much help as possible for buying a house. Can you buy a house that's zoned industrial? So the answer is yes. Of course you can. If you have a house in an industrial or a commercial district and you want to buy that house and live in it, of course you can. My question would be, why would you want to? If you think that property is going to end up, the highest and best use is going to end up being industrial or commercial down the road, and you want to purchase it as an investment and live in it in the meantime, yeah, absolutely. There's nothing that says that you cannot live in a commercial property or an industrial property that I'm aware of. Okay, number 6. Buying a house as a student. So if you're a high school student and you're not yet 18, you can't buy a house. You have to be 18 years old to buy a house because you have to be able to sign a contract. And you can't do that if you're a minor. Can you buy a house as a student in college? Absolutely. In fact, I know quite a few students and quite a few parents who have done that when their kids go off to college. Because real estate is such a great investment, one of the things they do is, like maybe as a student you live in dorm housing for your first year as a freshman or as a freshman and a sophomore, and then after that you decide to buy a house. So a couple of great things can come from this. First of all, you're building your financial wealth, right? Just like we talked about in question number 1. Number 2, you are putting yourself in a place where you own the place where you're living, right? But you can also rent those rooms out to your friends, and you might be able to rent them for enough money where your roommates are paying your mortgage. Definitely, if you have the means to pull it off and you can get the financing for it or you have the cash for it, if you have the ability to buy the house as a student in college, then you certainly can buy the house, yes. That said, if you're on financial aid from like FAFSA or something like that, would that affect your financial aid? And probably it would, because you have to tell them what your assets are. So that may or may not affect your financial aid. But there's nothing that says you can't buy a house as a student. It just might affect things such as your financial aid. Number 7, using Zillow to buy a house. Someone brought the Z word into my video here. Why are y'all bringing the Z word into my video? Using Zillow to buy a house. Okay, so Zillow is a brokerage. Zillow is a brokerage in many, many states, including Florida. Zillow does buy houses, but they only buy like 1% of the houses that people contact them about. So they don't buy a whole ton of houses, if that's where that question is going to. Again, wish I had more information. Other ways you can use Zillow to buy a house. You can go on Zillow and you can search out houses, which a lot of people do. I have a better app, which you will find in the description, than Zillow. Properties take up to 48 hours to hit Zillow after going on the MLS. So if you're relying on Zillow in this market to find a home and then call the people on it and, call the realtor, oh gosh, this is going to be a longer answer. So I know a lot of you guys go on Zillow and you're like, oh, we're just going to look for ourselves, and no, I don't need a realtor, and I don't want to have someone represent me, and I know there's like this whole thing around that. I don't get it, but I'm a realtor, so of course I wouldn't get it. That being said, I know a lot of you go on Zillow and you're like, oh, okay, so, this brand new property just came on the market. And then you call and it's probably gone in this market that we're in right now, because it can take up to 48 hours for something to go from the MLS to Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, and all of the other websites that they go to. It's called syndication, and it goes from MLS to the MLS feeds it out to all of those websites. So if you're relying on Zillow and not a custom search on the MLS, there's a very good possibility in this market that you're going to miss out on something that comes on the market. Because if it comes on the market on a Wednesday or a Tuesday or any day of the week, really, and it has 10 or 15 or 20 showings in the first day, and then the next day it hits Zillow and you see it, there's a very good possibility that it's already going under contract or there are already multiple offers on the property. So you're not going to be the first person to see it. You're not going to be the first person to put in an offer on it. You're already late to the game. So why are you doing that? If you want to buy a house, why are you late to the game? It's number one. Let's talk a minute about this whole, I'm going to use the seller's realtor. All right, guys, the seller's realtor works for the seller. If you're a buyer, you need the realtor who works for you. It's entirely possible to be on both sides, and a lot of times we represent the transaction, which is what a transaction broker is. We represent the transaction and not specifically the buyer or the seller. But if you're going in and calling the seller's realtor expecting that you're going to get a deal or something better because you're, the buyer on this, okay, that kind of stuff really doesn't happen all that much. It really, really doesn't. We're talking about things that happened in the 80s. And it's 2021. So stop. It's best if you are represented. You should be going out there with your, talking to a realtor, hiring the realtor who works with your personality style, whoever that may be, hiring a realtor who is a professional, and going out there with your realtor. Your realtor is representing you and is putting you on a custom search on the MLS and is working for you. One of the things that I do for my buyers in this market is contact the homeowners in the neighborhoods where they want to live. The homeowners that have not even thought about selling their house yet. Hey, yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I have a buyer who is really interested in your neighborhood. Who do you know in your neighborhood that has been thinking of selling their home? Because you know what? I work for my buyers and I also work for my sellers. Hire a realtor, do it the right way. It's well worth it to you. It really, really is. If you want to talk about all the different things that a buyer's agent or a realtor does for you, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Question number 8. How can I buy a house with 0 down? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. How can I buy a house with 0 down? So there are a couple of different ways. You can buy a house with 0 down if you're a veteran and you're using a VA loan, and VA loans are not scary. Stop thinking that. Again, that's a 1990s attitude. We're in 2021. VA loans are not scary. VA loans are not hard. VA loans are there to help you and as a thank you for our veterans who fought for our freedom. So if you're a veteran and you are eligible for a VA loan, please use it. So you can do 0 down with VA loan. If you're not a veteran, if you're not eligible for a VA loan, I'll link it below. Keller Mortgage has a 0+ loan program that you might qualify for. So there's a way for you to do it that way also. Your lender might have some other programs. Those are the 2 main ones that I know of though. Okay, just 2 more questions today. I'll do this again. 2 more questions. How does the home buying process work? Holy cow, that's 3 videos in and of itself. They are here. You can start with number 1 and move on to number 2 and number 3. So in a very brief nutshell, the home buying process works like this. If you want the full details, watch these 3 videos. It's about 30 minutes worth of information or so, and that will give you a detailed overview of the whole home buying process. Okay, number 10. We're down to the last question. Is there a house buying checklist? Indeed, there is. house buying checklist can include a whole lot of things. It looks like this. And if you're interested in getting a copy of that, go ahead and send me a message, a text, an email, whatever, and I'll be happy to shoot that over to you from a PDF. Okay, there we have it. That was your question and answer session for buyers. Again, I've got, I have a whole ton of those, and I have that many for sellers also. So we'll do more of these. We'll do like one every month or so, so that we can work through these questions, and you guys can, if there are other questions that you really would love answered, drop them in the comments below and I will answer them or put them in another video. You guys know what to do now. Give us a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell notification if you haven't done it yet. And of course, have yourself a fantastic day.